Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not going to speak a lot. I will let the guest speaker take over very soon. So today we have a very special guest to share her expertise, insight, and more importantly, her knowledge in UNESCO. So she's also the owner of the beautiful mansion, Blue Mansion, as you can see just now in the poster, and she has incredible experience in heritage restoration. I was amazed by the efforts and hard work that she and her husband put into the restoration. So the restoration actually took 6 years for Blue Mansion, and I personally been to the tour as well. So I'll let her tell you more, and let's welcome Mrs. Loh-Lim.
Hello, hi. Good afternoon, and thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me here. I'm very happy. And I've been told I have 20 minutes, and I have to let you out of here. So, shall we proceed with what I call anchoring the heritage vision? And I'm sure you're all aware that Georgetown is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I really, at the end of the day, the feeling is we're doing so much work, and what's it all for? It's for people like you. Because if the next generation actually doesn't feel inspired by what you see around you, then it's all been wasted, because we work so hard and then you come along and who knows, 20 years from now, you knock it all down. So part of the job is to actually make you feel passionate about heritage. Okay, we're gonna just move ahead, but I really would like it. I don't mind at all if you put up your hand and stop me, even during the talk. Or we wait till the end and then you ask me questions, because that would really make it very useful for everybody, we hope. Okay. These scenes that you see, obviously this is from Penang Hill. This was the port a long time ago of Georgetown. Georgetown is a place that you all visit, and hopefully after this you will look at it with slightly different view. Georgetown is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and this is what we call core and buffer zones. This is a core zone. This is Fort Cornwallis leading down to where the ferry terminal is. This entire site is what we call the World Heritage Site. Strangely enough, Georgetown and Malacca are the only two sites in the world that are what we call twin sites. And we are one of them, meaning that Malacca and Georgetown is actually considered one site. I'm sure this was for political reasons, but we will not get into this. Basically, the most important line to look at here is the two towns constitute a unique architectural and cultural landscape without parallel anywhere in East and Southeast Asia. That's from UNESCO. We were listed on July the 7th, 2008. So we've been a UNESCO World Heritage Site for 14 years. There is a wide diversity of what we call cultural heritage, one of the outstanding universal values under which Georgetown was listed. Okay, these are scenes that I'm sure you have passed and totally not been aware of. Let's look at this. This is multicultural architecture. This is on Chulia Street. This is the Kwu Kong Sea. This is on Beach Street, the Clan Jetties, the State Assembly, and of course, the Town Hall or City Hall at the Esplanade. Penang Island has always been well known for being very unique in that we're a very small island, and yet within the island we incorporate sea, beaches, unspoiled hills, and this, I hope you're aware of this, in 2021, right in the middle of the pandemic, Penang Hill actually received what is called UNESCO Biosphere listing. We are now a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. That means for nature. And of course, sprawling suburbs and huge industrial electronic zone. The historic core actually has about 6,000 buildings within and about 3,000 without. It is what you call the largest intact collection of historic buildings in the whole ASEAN region. That's one of the reasons why we were listed. It is what we call a marketplace, and these may be scenes that you actually, are familiar with. Anytime, any Saturday, Sunday, you go down to Georgetown, and this is the kind of scene that you actually see around you. We call it the marketplace of times past. Okay, so what is World Heritage listing? Why such a fuss? And why does everybody want to have it? Throughout the world, we have these sites that are considered to have outstanding universal values. A site becomes a World Heritage Site when it is inscribed because of these outstanding universal values. What does this mean? It means that it's not just important for your country, it transcends national borders. It becomes important for the whole world community to actually work to protect this and keep it for the next generation. So wherever you're coming from, your country should have some World Heritage Sites for which we are all protecting for the next generation. This, of course, you see the pyramids, that's a World Heritage Site. Some World Heritage Sites, look at them. Some of these you recognize, some of these you might not. We have natural sites, cultural sites, and mixed sites. Sorry, I'm kind of rushing you. A natural site is like, for example, Sabah Park with Mount Kinabalu. I don't know whether the school has gone on a Kinabalu hike, but it's something that I'm sure, is in the plan somewhere. Mount Kinabalu and Sabah Park is a natural UNESCO World Heritage Site. We have a cultural site. Cultural site would be like the Great Wall of China. That's a cultural site. And you have a mixed site. I give you a mixed site here, which is Ayers Rock in Australia, because it's a natural site, but with great cultural content. It's what we call a mixed site. In 2022, there were 1,154 World Heritage Sites in the world, of which the highest, you can see Italy has the most, etc., China, so on and so forth. Malaysia, I should have asked the question first before I started. Do you know how many World Heritage Sites we actually have? I've shown you there, we actually have 4. We have 2 natural sites, Mulu Caves in Sarawak and Sabah Park. We only have 1 cultural site. It is the twin settlements of Georgetown and Malacca. And then we have 1 mixed site. It's called Linggong Valley. It's in Perak, and it's where the Perak Man was first found. I'm sure you've heard of the Perak Man, right? No? Okay, history teachers, Perak Man. Okay. There are different categories of cultural heritage. You have tangible, you have cultural heritage, natural heritage, and under cultural heritage, you have what are called tangibles. Tangibles are very easy, buildings, monuments, etc. And intangibles. Intangibles would cover music, dance, literature, theater, crafts, skills, traditions. I show there the Bolshoi Ballet, which is a intangible cultural heritage. What is it? It is the creative expression of traditions, beliefs, achievements of a site and its people. I show there Stonehenge. You all know Stonehenge, of course. Tangible. Penang, this is skills, carving, signboards, and tangible heritage like at Angkor. So heritage comes in material form, movable or immovable. You can't move Angkor Wat, you can't move Stonehenge. It's immovable, tangible heritage. There's intangible heritage. If nothing else, I hope you like the nice pictures. Intangible heritage includes dance, music, skills, language. Look at all these. These are what we call skills and heritage that we want to keep for the future. The importance of a site should quite clearly be stated in what we call a statement of significance. Why? So that everybody understands why that site is important and why it should be kept. because it also allows you to identify threats. There are many, many threats to World Heritage Sites, and you'll be surprised to learn that one of the threats is actually over-tourism. Too many people. And uncontrolled development, the developers will probably hate me for showing this, but this is an example of uncontrolled development. This is over-tourism, and this is conflict and war, when you destroy your heritage because of conflict and war. I show you lovely heritage sites in the world that some of you may have visited, some of you may come from there. Look at these. Dubrovnik, of course, you all know that's where Game of Thrones was done. If you want me to actually, talk more about any of these sites, just put up your hand. And these are Asian World Heritage Sites. There has always been a criticism that there seems to be a preference for Western World Heritage Sites. So UNESCO now is more focused on Asia. And these are some of the Asian sites. Aren't they lovely? Eh? Have you been to any of them? No? No. What? Yes. Sorry? Sorry, I can't catch it. Because your mask is on. Okay. And in Malaysia, Penang alone has an impressive collection of 19th and early 20th century colonial bungalows. We have amazing architecture in Penang. Just notice them. This is on Gurney Drive. This is the residence. This is Penang Hill. This is off Masjid Kapitan Kling. This is on Leith Street. We also have a very unique range of early 19th century and South Indian Muslim architecture and Southern Chinese shophouses. And we have many, many buildings that have local and European influences. That's what makes us very special. This I wanted to share with you because it's akin to what we're doing now. The Penang Heritage Trust has taken on many, many initiatives, particularly before World Heritage listing, to work with young people and students. And some of these have involved going to schools, having heritage workshops, actually bringing school children into the city in order to understand and experience some of what we have. And of course, Penang being Penang, the focus is on food, and there are many traditional foods that we feel that if we don't pass down, we will lose them. So part of the heritage learning was actually learning about endangered foods and how to make them. We also celebrate something that we call Living Heritage Treasures of Penang, which is actually acknowledging those who possess skills and traditions that actually define what is Penang. And we've been doing this since 2005. You have your lantern maker and, all kinds of different carvers, puppeteers, etc. Leading up to World Heritage listing, we've also seen amazing restoration work. Many of these works are actually internationally acknowledged and recognized as of the best, highest caliber and international best practice. Some of these, Suffolk House, you all know, it's just off Scotland Road. The Kukong Sea. This is Tochu Temple, which is at the junction of Chulia Street and Masjid Kapitan Kling. This is UAB Think City, which is near the harbour. He also, of course, has mentioned by Ben that the Chong Fat Si Mansion, which is one of the leading heritage restoration projects, which has won UNESCO's top award, Most Excellent Project for Heritage Conservation. And I show you some of these because, Crazy Rich Asians was obviously done there in 2019. This one you may not know. This is Catherine Deneuve in Indochine, which was filmed at the Blue Mansion, and it went on and won an Academy Award. So it's like an Oscar-winning movie. And of course, all these are images of how the Blue Mansion has been used and enjoyed. And of course, at the end of the day, you ask, what is this listing for? And people will tell you tourism. But you do that with, a fine, light hand, because tourism can also be very destructive. And what is it that millions of people come to Penang to see? They don't want to come and see I call it heritage theme park, which is really like, unfortunately, what Malacca is very much now what we call a heritage theme park. People actually come to experience a heritage city with a real community, with real people living real lives. And we actually just inviting people to share it with us, but you don't create the city for them, because then it becomes very fakey. We actually have the potential of becoming a great city. Memorable because every street is like a page in history. It is lived in, it's used, it's enjoyed, and we actually want to invite people to come and see and share it with us. I call this here the historic island port settlement of Georgetown, a place to come home to for locals and for visitors. Okay, I'm done. Yes, none of you ask me questions. Am I good with my timing? Excellent.
Yeah, you have 5 more minutes.
I have
so
5
any
minutes.
questions for Mrs. Loh-Lim?
Come on. Yes, lovely. Japanese culture. Japan, of course, has amazing, as you all know, both their heritage as well as their conservation technology is quite incredible. I cannot give you a lecture on Japan, but certainly Japan has many, many World Heritage sites. Some of them are buildings, some of them are cultural. Like, for example, their tea ceremony. The Japanese tea ceremony is actually a cultural heritage, the ceremony itself, and it's actually, registered with UNESCO as a cultural heritage. So, you obviously love Japan. Yes?
What made you want to get into heritage sites and researching about them?
I have no idea. Okay. My husband and I both lived abroad for a long time. We came home many, many years ago, and we thought Georgetown was amazing, and nobody else thought it was amazing. And we kept having meetings of what I call very elitist groups, architects, professors from university, people who got together and talked about it and talked and talked and talked. And then the Chong Fat Si mansion became available, and I always said, became time to put your money where your mouth was, basically. We felt that a benchmark sample restoration had to be conducted in order to actually show people what could be done with a very, very dilapidated, rundown building. And then people I think, actually, in answer to your question, I think the people of Penang got very upset when they started to see development in a way which involved knocking down buildings. And these were buildings they had grown up with, these were buildings they'd seen all their lives, and suddenly, you wake up one morning and it's gone. And I think the people of Penang, the community of Penang, actually roused themselves up. The Penang Heritage Trust is very strong. In fact, you're very lucky living in Penang. Penang has the strongest, what we call civil society groups to be found in the country. We have the strongest consumers association, the strongest heritage group, strongest environmental groups, M&S. People in Penang care about Penang. And they actually do something about it. So they got together and they started to become very vocal. And you get yourselves in the newspapers, and then everybody sits up and listens. So you can say that in Penang, the whole heritage movement and the UNESCO listing was actually bottom up. It was not top down. In Malacca, it's very top down. Here, the 2 chief ministers ago, he was the first to admit it was the people of Penang who convinced him to go and look for World Heritage listing for Georgetown. He didn't think that the old buildings were very nice. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay, did you put up your hand? No, you're just waving them about. Okay. Anybody else? One last question.
How do you carry out the restoration processes?
Oh my goodness. With great humility, because it is somebody else's building that you are putting back. It is not a new building that you are designing yourself. And you basically do it with what I call integrity. Meaning, you see what went into that old building, and you try and replicate it. All old buildings before 1940 used lime. They didn't use cement. Cement is that gray stuff that you see that is used nowadays. They use lime. So when you do restoration, you use lime. You don't use cement. They used what we call a breathable paint. That means paint where you paint the wall and the wall has moisture, but it breathes, it comes out, and it dries itself. Whereas if you use ICI Weather Shield or Nippon Bond, it is a synthetic acrylic paint. So if you're doing an old building, you don't use ICI Weather Shield, you use lime wash. So you try and learn from the building and repeat what went into that building. That's what we call a good restoration. Of course, you see people doing a lot of bad restoration as well, which you can't get away from. Does that kind of answer your question?
So if you haven't been to Blue Mansion, I really recommend you to have a look and visit.
You should do a Georgetown
mansion.
World Heritage Site tour, yes.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Mrs. Loh-Lim, for your time with us. And I'm afraid, but on a special note as well, Mrs. Loh-Lim is actually a grandmother of Kaylin in year 8.
Hello,
That's
Kaylin,
where the connection is. Thank you once again, Mrs. Loh-Lim. And it's now your time to go back to your lesson 5, so you can actually proceed back to your classroom. So see you next Tuesday.